My name is Thomas Edison. You probably know me as the man who brought light to the world, the one who invented the light bulb and helped usher in the age of electricity. Some say I'm one of the greatest inventors who ever lived. Tonight, I will tell you the story of my life. When I was a boy, I was nearly thrown off a train, not because I broke the law, but because I was doing a science experiment in the baggage car that almost caused a fire. If you were me, experiencing what I've experienced, would you do better than me? Or bring something greater to humanity? So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. If you could send a message to me in the past, what would you write? Leave a comment below. Now listen to this interesting story about my life journey. I opened my eyes to the little town of Milan, Ohio. It's 1847. I am born into a humble home, the youngest of 7. My mother, Nancy, is a teacher. My father, Samuel, is a bit of a dreamer, loud, passionate, full of wild ideas that rarely settle into anything solid. The house is full of voices and movement, but from the start, I feel different. I'm not a quiet child. I ask too many questions. I talk endlessly. Some grown-ups find it charming, others, not so much. When we moved to Port Huron, Michigan, I'm still a boy, just 7. But already, the world inside my head is louder than the one outside. I want to know why. Why do leaves turn yellow? Why does the sun move across the sky? Why can I hear a whistle long before the train appears? Teachers call me difficult, unfocused, slow. One even says I'm addled. If you were in my shoes, labeled like that at just a few years old, what would you do? But my mother, she sees something in me. She pulls me out of school and decides to teach me herself. She fills my hands with books and my mind with encouragement. She tells me, "You have a brain all your own, Thomas. Use it." Without her, I might have been lost to the silence of doubt. Isn't it strange how one person's faith in you can change the whole direction of a life? I build my first lab in the basement. Old glass bottles, bits of metal, coils of wire, anything I can scavenge. I read everything I can, especially science books. I copy entire textbooks by hand just to understand them better. I don't play like other children. I create. I test. I fail. I repeat. By the time I'm 12, I take a job selling newspapers and candy on the Grand Trunk Railway, not just to earn money, but because trains are full of motion, of stories, of people. I set up a mini printing press in the baggage car and publish my own newspaper right there on the train. Can you imagine that? A scrappy boy in a soot-covered vest, riding between towns, writing articles and setting type as the train chugs through farmland and fog. One day, while doing one of my famous chemistry experiments in that same baggage car, a vial explodes and sets fire to the floorboards. The conductor, red-faced and furious, throws me off at the next stop. My equipment is tossed after me like trash. It's the first of many moments where my curiosity gets me into trouble. But I don't stop experimenting. Shortly after, I perform an act that feels small at the time but changes everything. I save a little boy from being hit by a runaway train car. His father, a telegraph operator, offers to teach me Morse code and how to operate the telegraph. This is my first real taste of electricity, this invisible language of pulses and wires. Suddenly, I understand that sound and information can fly across miles, faster than any horse or train. This is a power I want to master. I become a wandering telegraph operator, moving from city to city, job to job. I work at night, sleep during the day, carry my lab with me in a suitcase. I tinker constantly, modifying equipment, trying to make it better. The other operators think I'm strange. Some admire me, some avoid me. But I never stop. Each failed attempt is a stepping stone, and each day I grow more obsessed with invention. If you were me, alone, often broke, often ridiculed, but driven by something you couldn't quite explain, would you keep going? That's what I ask myself even now. Because being misunderstood hurts. But sometimes, it's the only proof that you're ahead of your time. One winter evening, I walked through the streets of Louisville, Kentucky, head full of wire diagrams and electric pulses, when I forget to shut off a battery. It causes a small disaster at the telegraph office. I'm fired on the spot. Most people would be crushed. Me? I buy a train ticket to Boston. Why? Because that's where the latest scientific journals are. That's where minds like mine are working. Boston smells like coal and ambition. I find a small room, barely large enough to turn around in, and pour myself into building something new, something useful, something that might change everything. Boston is cold, both in temperature and in how it treats a nobody like me. I arrive with calloused fingers, a beat-up suitcase, and a head full of ideas. But ideas, as I quickly learn, don't pay rent. I find work as a telegraph operator again, barely scraping by. The other men are faster, smoother, more polished. I'm awkward. My clothes are often stained with chemical burns. I talk too much, and always about inventions no one asked to hear about. But I can't stop. I spend my nights in boarding houses bent over scraps of metal and broken gadgets, muttering to myself as I try to understand how things work, and more importantly, how they might work better. Do you ever feel like your mind just won't shut off, even when you beg it to rest? One night, hunched over a coffee-stained notebook, I sketched something simple, a vote recorder. Just a device to help lawmakers record their votes faster. I file for a patent, my first. I walk into that office as just Thomas, the odd kid from Ohio, but I walk out as an inventor. That little piece of paper, my name etched into something official, feels like gold. So I take the machine to Washington, thinking I've struck it big. But when I present it to the government, they laugh. We don't want fast votes, they say. We want debate. They brush me off like a child showing off a wooden sword. It stings more than I expect. After all that effort, that spark of hope, dismissed. But I learned something valuable. I whisper it to myself that night under a thin hotel blanket. Never invent something people don't need. That lesson stays with me for life, and maybe that's something you can carry too. If you were me, would you have stopped after that? Or would you take failure like firewood, stacking it until it makes a flame? I don't give up. Instead, I moved to New York City. It's 1869, and the city hums with opportunity and noise. I arrive broke. I sleep in basements, rooftops, stairwells, anywhere I can rest my body while my mind races on. I haunt the financial district, looking for any chance to work on telegraphs. My shoes wear thin. My hands shake from hunger. One day, I wander into the gold indicator company just as one of their ticker machines breaks. It's chaos, investors shouting, wires tangled. I watch the manager sweating, desperate, and I say quietly, I think I can fix it. He looks at me like I'm insane. But I sit down, twist a few wires, adjust the mechanism, and the machine begins to tick again. Just like that. They offer me a job on the spot. Regular pay, a roof, food, but more than that, access to their machines. I tinker with the stock ticker, and in 1871 I improve it. Make it faster, smoother. The universal stock printer. This time, people want what I've made. The company pays me $40,000. Can you imagine? That's more money than I've ever dreamed of. I'm just in my 20s, and I'm suddenly wealthy. But I don't buy a mansion. I don't take vacations. I buy equipment. I rent a workshop. I hire a few smart, scrappy young men like myself, and we begin building something I've always wanted, my own laboratory. I set up shop in Newark, New Jersey. The lab is messy, noisy, full of smoke and solder, but to me it's heaven. We work long hours. We sleep on benches. We eat whatever we can find, and we invent. Oh, how we invent. Some call it a workshop. Others call it a madhouse. To me, it's a temple. It's during this time I fall in love. Her name is Mary Stillwell, a kind young woman who works at one of my companies. We marry quickly. I'm terrible at expressing affection. Too many wires in my head, not enough in my heart. But I try. We have children. I call one of them Dot and another Dash, like Morse code. Silly, I know. But when you spend your life listening to machines click and beep, it's hard not to see language that way. Still, it's not all joy. The hours are brutal. My health begins to fray. My hearing, never good, starts to fade. Some say it's from childhood illness, others from that train accident. Maybe both. All I know is that the world grows quieter every year. I begin to live in a space where I can't hear whispers, birdsong, even laughter. But strangely, it makes me better at focusing. No distractions. In that lab, I build dozens of devices. Not all succeed. Some catch fire. Some never even hum to life. But every failure teaches me something. I learn to listen not just to machines, but to the silence between them. That's where invention lives. There's a story I love to remember. I'm working on an improvement to the carbon transmitter for the telephone. Bell may have invented it, but I want to refine it. One night I fall asleep at the lab bench, exhausted. My hand slips. The current jolts me awake with a sharp snap. Most would curse, walk away, maybe quit. Me? I scribble down what happened. That jolt gave me a clue, a way to increase sensitivity in the device. If you were me, face down on a lab bench, ink on your sleeves, hands shaking, would you see that spark as a gift or a warning? By 1876, I'm ready to build something bigger than Newark, a real lab, a place where invention isn't a side project, it's a way of life. So I move out to a quiet New Jersey village called Menlo Park. I set up the world's first industrial research laboratory. People laugh at the idea. You can't mass-produce discovery, they say. But I believe you can. And very soon, I'll prove it. Menlo Park. Just the name still brings a softness to my chest. It's 1876 when I buy the land. A peaceful patch of New Jersey soil that doesn't look like much at first. But in my mind, I don't see farmland or trees. I see sparks, wires, metal arms moving with clockwork precision. I see the future, and so I build it. My laboratory, a 2-story white building with a tall chimney and long wooden workbenches inside. It smells of oil and sawdust, and every drawer is crammed with glass tubes, bits of wire, odd screws, and strange chemicals. It's not just a place to work, it's a machine for making machines. We call it the invention factory, and maybe that sounds grand, but that's exactly what it becomes. I hire a team, young men full of energy and curiosity. Some are engineers, some tinkerers, some just hungry minds. I pay them well and tell them to try everything. No idea is too silly, no failure too costly. I work alongside them, sometimes 20 hours at a stretch. I sleep on a lab bench, coat as a pillow, because I can't pull myself away. And now comes the light. People had been trying to invent electric light for years. The idea wasn't new, but the problem was always the same. It didn't last. The filaments burned out in minutes, or the power was unstable, or the cost too high. Gas lamps ruled the world, dangerous, smoky, and unreliable, but familiar. I wanted to change that. Some nights in the lab, I stare into the darkness and imagine what it would be like if every home, every street, had light at the flick of a switch. Clean, steady light. No matches, no flames, just energy. Do you know that kind of vision? That single idea that won't let you sleep? So we begin thousands of experiments, literally. I test every kind of material for the filament. Cotton, linen, bamboo, even hair. I watch them burn out, one by one. I tell my team, we haven't failed. We've just found thousands of ways that won't work. That's something I believe with every breath. Failure isn't defeat, it's data. If you were me, and every morning greeted you with another burned-out wire, would you keep going? Or would you call it impossible? But then, one day in October 1879, we try carbonized bamboo. The moment is quiet. The bulb glows, and it stays glowing. Not for minutes, but for hours. We keep watching, hearts pounding. It lasts more than 13 hours. The next version lasts even longer, up to 40. We've done it. I have created a practical, long-lasting electric light bulb. Word spreads. People come from cities and farms to Menlo Park just to see it. We light up the lab, then the entire street. Neighbors gather in silence, their faces bathed in the pale, steady glow of something almost holy. Some cry, some whisper prayers. Most just stare. It's like witnessing the sun being reborn in glass. But that's just the beginning. Because what good is a light bulb if there's no electricity to power it? So I build that too. An entire system, generators, switches, wiring, even a method to distribute electricity through cities. I think of everything. It's not just the bulb, it's the network. That's how invention works. You don't just give people a tool. You give them a world where that tool can live. In 1882, I flipped the switch on the Pearl Street station in New York City. It's the first central power plant in America. Suddenly, hundreds of homes and businesses in Lower Manhattan glow to life. Flickering gas lamps give way to something steadier, quieter, safer. A new era begins. Of course, not everyone's thrilled. My success draws rivals like moths to, you guessed it, light. Chief among them is Nikola Tesla. He's brilliant, no doubt, and intense. He once worked for me but grew frustrated, wanted to do things his way. He believed in alternating current, I in direct current. We argue, debate, compete. Some call it the war of currents. The newspapers love it. Edison versus Tesla. The old lion versus the daring upstart. The truth is more complicated. I admire his genius, even as I resist his ideas. Was I too stubborn? Perhaps. That's a question I still ask myself. If you were me, faced with a rival who threatened to undo your life's work, would you open your arms or dig in your heels? There's one story I hate remembering, but I must. To discredit alternating current, some of my associates, perhaps with my permission, perhaps not, conduct public demonstrations of its dangers. Animals shocked to death in front of crowds. It was cruel. And if I could take those choices back, I might. But ambition and fear make poor advisors. You might know that feeling too. The pressure to protect something you've built, even when it warps your judgment. Still, through it all, the light remains. By now, my name is known everywhere. People call me the Wizard of Menlo Park. Journalists follow me. Investors beg for a piece of the next invention. I shake hands with presidents, dine with kings. But at heart, I'm still the boy in the basement, testing wires, listening for the whisper of the future. And in my lab, the next idea is already forming. Sound. Because once you've made the world visible at night, what's left? Maybe it's time to make it speak. It starts, as most of my ideas do, with an accident. One day in 1877, I'm tinkering with a device meant to record telegraph signals, a series of indentations on paper tape. I've been experimenting with ways to imprint sound vibrations as physical impressions. But instead of code, I wonder, what if it could record voice? So I test something. I attach a needle to a diaphragm and speak into it as it presses against a rotating cylinder wrapped in tinfoil. Mary had a little lamb, I say, soft, steady. My voice causes the diaphragm to vibrate. The vibrations move the needle. The needle etches those vibrations into the foil. Simple theory. But then comes the impossible part. I rewind the cylinder. I place the needle back on its groove, and I hear my own voice. My own voice. Crackling, faint, but unmistakable. Mary had a little lamb. I stare at the machine in silence. Do you know what it feels like to hear yourself speak after you've stopped speaking? Not as an echo, but preserved. It was like time folded in on itself. I call it the phonograph. People don't believe it at first. A talking machine, they scoff. Nonsense. But I take it on tour, demonstrate it myself. Faces light up, jaws drop. Children laugh and hide. The magic isn't just in the sound, it's in the memory. A voice captured, a moment held. Think about that. Before this, sound existed only in real time. You heard music, a speech, a goodbye, and then it was gone, like breath in the cold. But now you can rewind, relive, pass it down. If you were me, what would you record first? Your mother's laugh? A lullaby? A whispered promise? I dream big. I imagine the phonograph used in schools, offices, music halls, and I begin adapting it. Wax cylinders replacing the fragile foil. Machines for both recording and playback. Soon, whole businesses rise around it. But once again, my attention shifts, because my mind, it never stays still. By the mid-1880s, I'm diving into motion pictures. Think about it. If I can capture sound, why not images? And if I can capture both, can I preserve life itself? I assign a brilliant assistant, William K.L. Dixon, to help me. We experiment with film strips, shutters, light exposure. After years of trial and error, we create the kinetograph, a motion picture camera, and the kinetoscope, a viewer. You peer inside the box, and there they are, moving images, tiny people dancing, boxing, playing violins. The first films are short, seconds long. A sneeze, a smile. But they're alive. They move. The public is stunned. The first time I show a boxing match, people gasp and duck as if the fighter might throw a punch through the lens. And again, something new begins. We build the Black Maria, the first movie production studio. It's a strange little shack, black on the outside, mounted on a rotating base to follow the sun. We film vaudeville acts, short comedies, even real-life moments. People travel for miles just to sit at a kinetoscope and glimpse moving life trapped in a box. If you were me, already wealthy, already famous, would you keep chasing something so uncertain? Or would you sit back, let the world admire your past? Not me. Never me. By now, my life is crowded. Fame has brought fortune, but also weight. I have business partners, board meetings, lawsuits. The Edison name appears on thousands of patents. But I'm not a corporation. I'm still just that boy chasing sparks. At home, things are harder. My first wife, Mary, dies in 1884. The cause, some say typhoid, others a morphine overdose to dull her pain. I never really say. I grieve in silence. I bury myself in work. 2 years later, I meet Mina, young, gentle, curious. We marry. She brings peace to my restless life, a steadiness I sorely need. We move to a grand estate in West Orange, New Jersey. I build a new lab there. Bigger, better. The world keeps changing. Electricity now flows through entire cities. People light up their homes with bulbs that carry my name. Factories hum. Streets glow. The phonograph plays music in living rooms. Children laugh at moving pictures. But the world doesn't always love the one who helped build it. I clash with other inventors. I fight over patents. I lose some battles. Tesla's alternating current wins the war of electricity. Radio slips through my fingers. Others get the credit. Critics say I'm no longer relevant. Some even mock me. Let them. I know what I've done. And I know what's coming next. Batteries, cement, dictation machines, even attempts at mining ore with magnets. Not all succeed. Some fail spectacularly. I pour millions into ideas that crumble. But I never stop trying. Because invention, to me, is not a job. It's breath. I tell young people this all the time. Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. That's not a quote for newspapers. It's the truth. You want to change the world? Then you'd better be ready to sweat. So tell me, if you were me, in a world that's always moving faster than your feet, would you keep running? Or would you lie down and let history pass you by? I choose to run. Even if I limp. Even if I fail. Because every failure teaches me something no book ever could. And I still have more to give. The world, now lit and buzzing, hums with the machines I once dreamed of. It's the early 20th century, and I am no longer the young tinkerer asleep on his lab bench, but an old man, grayer now, with a slower walk and a quieter voice. Yet still, every morning I return to the lab. By this time I hold over 1,000 patents. The Edison Manufacturing Company, General Electric, and countless other ventures are running with or without me. My name is printed on every lamp, every phonograph box, every motion picture reel. But the titles, the accolades, they don't interest me much. What drives me now is something deeper. There's still a part of me, some stubborn spark, that refuses to stop inventing. At my West Orange lab, I chase ideas others have left behind. One of them is concrete. Yes, concrete. I see its potential far beyond sidewalks. I dream of entire buildings, bridges, even furniture made from it. I try to build low-cost homes, even a piano. Imagine that, playing Beethoven on stone keys. Another obsession? The battery, not flashy, not romantic, but crucial. The future, I believe, will run on stored energy. I work tirelessly on improving the alkaline storage battery. It's messy work, acid, leaks, endless redesigns, but I keep at it. Those batteries will eventually power early electric cars, mines, ships, even Thomas Edison's own Model T, gifted to me by my friend Henry Ford. Ah yes, Ford. He and I, like iron and wire, two builders, two dreamers. We meet later in life but become close friends, sharing long walks and longer talks. He invites me on road trips. We travel the countryside with Harvey Firestone and naturalist John Burroughs. 4 old men camping under the stars, swapping stories, cooking over a fire. Me, the Wizard of Menlo Park, burning sausages on a stick. Imagine that. It's during one of those trips that I tell Ford, the young man who wants to succeed must take life as he finds it and make the best of it. I meant every word. If you were me and saw how fleeting everything becomes, money, fame, invention, what would you hold on to? For me, it's curiosity. Even when my hearing fades almost completely, I still keep a pencil and pad on me at all times. I sketch ideas during dinner. I scribble notes during conversations. I wander the lab, poking into corners, lifting up devices like a child peeking into gift boxes. I've been rich, yes, but richer still in questions. Toward the end, I grow more reflective. Not sad exactly, but softened. I think about Mary, my first wife. About Mina, my steady anchor. About my 6 children, some who follow me into science, some who carve their own paths. My son Charles becomes a businessman. At one point, he even serves as Secretary of the Navy. Not bad for the son of a boy who once set a train car on fire. I think about the failures too. I think about all the devices that didn't work, the ideas that crumbled like dust in my hands. I spent years on a machine to communicate with the dead. Not a hoax, not for profit. I just wanted to understand if something of us lingers. The machine never worked. But maybe some things aren't meant to. In 1929, on the 50th anniversary of the light bulb, they hold a grand celebration in my honor. President Hoover speaks. Henry Ford reconstructs my original Menlo Park lab, brick by brick, inside his museum in Dearborn. I stand in front of a crowd of thousands, trembling, thin, but smiling. I don't say much. What could I say? That light wasn't just about seeing in the dark. It was about believing in what can be made, if only we dare. My final days are quiet. I sit by the window. I watch the trees. I hold Mina's hand. On October 18th, 1931, I close my eyes for the last time. They say my pulse slowed like a clock winding down. Fitting, I suppose. Henry Ford, ever the romantic, collects the last breath I exhale, literally, in a test tube. He seals it, says it's the breath of genius. I find that a bit silly, but also strangely touching. And now here we are. You, warm under your blanket, eyes heavy with sleep. Me, still whispering across time. Isn't that what I always wanted? To stretch a voice across the years, across the silence. If you could send a message to me in the past, back when I was still that boy with a science book and a head full of fire, what would you say? Leave a comment below. I hope you'd tell me to keep going. I hope you're inspired to do the same, because you don't need to be a genius to invent something beautiful. You just need a question that won't leave you alone, and the courage to chase it in the dark. Now rest easy. Let's slow everything down. The lamps are flickering low. The hum of the lab has faded. The clock hands tick softer now, like distant footsteps on a quiet street. My voice is growing smaller, not because it's gone, but because the story's been told. Let your thoughts drift back to Menlo Park, to glowing bulbs and spinning cylinders, to the rustle of notes drawn in the middle of the night. Let the spark that lit my world keep glowing quietly in yours. Close your eyes. There's nothing left to chase. No questions, no wires, no unfinished experiments. Only this one quiet moment. The light has not gone out. It's just time to rest.